Good morning, students. I hope all of you are keeping fine and doing your online studies regularly. I also hope that you are completing your notebooks with all the questions and answers. I am aware that these days you all are writing your unit test. Do it sincerely. Today we shall learn the fourth chapter from your textbook, English textbook, of course, Beehive, a truly beautiful mind. Open your book to page number 46. This chapter is about Albert Einstein. He was a great scientist. The title of the chapter, A Truly Beautiful Mind, refers to Albert Einstein. This is a short biography of his, where some of his qualities have been highlighted. Albert's interest in mathematics and physics, and also his humanitarian attribute. What is humanitarian attribute means? Great love for the humanity, not only mathematics and physics. The title, A Truly Beautiful Mind, makes one wonder that how a scientist's mind can be beautiful. It is so because in this lesson we will come across another aspect of Einstein beside his mathematics and physics. He was a humanitarian. I told you, so much love for the humanity. He advocated world peace. He worked for world peace, non-violence, and that is why the title refers to him as a truly beautiful mind. Albert Einstein was born on 14th March 1879. He was born in a city named Ulm in Germany. When he was a child, no one could predict that one day he would become a great scientist. He was like all the other children. Yeah, now we shall follow page number 46. You see, before you read, who do you think of when you hear the word genius? Who is a genius? What qualities do you think a genius has? What do you think when you say he or she is a very genius? Means very clever, some scientists. This is what we think of. And what qualities that a genius person will be very clever, very intelligent, and he or she doesn't have to study much. We think just like that it will come. Okay. When we learn about the life of Albert Einstein, we shall see whether he was born genius or he became genius. We shall now read about a young German civil servant who took the world by storm about 100 years ago. In the summer of 1905, the 26-year-old published in quick succession 4 ground-breaking papers about light, the motion of particles, the electrodynamics of moving bodies, and energy. His work took up only a few pages in scientific journals, but changed forever our understanding of space, time, and the entire cosmos, and transformed the name Einstein into a synonym for genius. This is what the genius man is. 50 years after his death, Albert Einstein's genius still reigns. Still reigns means it still continues. First paragraph. Albert Einstein was born on 14th March 1879 in the German city of Ulm. Without any indication that he was destined for greatness. On the contrary, his mother thought Albert was a freak. To her, his head seemed much too large. You see his birth date. He was a German citizen. Without any indication, that means without any sign that he was destined for greatness, that he would become one day, destined, one day he would become a great person. There was no indication, there was no sign. When a child is born, do we have some sign that person is going to become a great? No. On the contrary, the opposite, his mother thought Albert was a freak. Freak means person who is unusual and doesn't behave or look or think like others. Someone unusual than other persons. Okay, that's the freak. To her, his head seemed much too large. His mother thought that his head was too big, too large, And of course, we do believe that whose head is large at the birth, that person is supposed to be the genius, a clever. Okay, but anyway, there was no sign about in the life of Einstein when he was born, and his mother thought something unusual. Second paragraph. At the age of 2.5, Einstein still wasn't talking. When he finally did learn to speak, he uttered everything twice. Einstein did not know what to do with other children, and his playmates called him rather boring. So, the youngsters played by himself much of the time. He especially loved mechanical toys. Looking at his newborn sister, Maja, he is said to have said, "Fine, but where are her wheels?" You see here, second paragraph. Till 2.5 years of old, Ansel wasn't talking at all. Of course, we don't expect fluent talking in 2.5 years, but usually a child, normal child, will be able to tell mummy, daddy, papa, whatever it is. But then he was not able to speak. And when he started, finally, he learned to speak, he uttered everything twice. That means not fluent. Okay? And he did not know what to do with other children. He didn't know how to play with other children. And so his playmates means his schoolmates and with whom he was playing, they called him, you see in inverted comma, brother boring. He is a bored person. He is a brother, but then such a boring person. Okay, not an opposite of boring would be interesting. So he was not at all an interesting man. And so this youngster, that means Einstein, he played alone much of the time. And he especially loved mechanical toys, mechanical toys. And when his younger sister Maja was born, he said, "Fine, it's all right." One child, he thought his sister was a toy. For that, he's asking, "But where are her wheels?" Remember, he likes always the mechanical toys. And so he thought this child, his younger sister, also was a toy. And so this toy should have a wheels, you see. So he's telling, "Where are her wheels?" In page number 46, at the bottom, you will see there in the small letters, you see what happened, how he learned to speak. Otto Neugebauer, the historian of ancient mathematics, told a story about the boy Einstein that he characterizes as a legend. Legend means something very famous, historical person, but that seems fairly authentic. As he was a late talker, started to talk late, his parents were worried. They're so much worried why he is not talking. Any parent, they will think either he is a dumb. Okay. At last, at the supper table one night, supper table means during the dinner, he broke his silence to say, "The soup is too hot." Greatly relieved, they were satisfied. His parents asked why he had never said a word before. Albert replied, "Because up to now everything was in order." Did you understand? You see, the first sentence that he spoke was, "The soup is too hot." And the parents, for them, what a joy, what a relief to have the child speaking at last. And they ask, "Why before this you never spoke?" And you see what answer he gives. He tells that it was before that everything was in order. Only today the soup is hot, that's why he has to speak. Okay. Third paragraph. A headmaster once told his father that what Einstein chose as a profession wouldn't matter because he'll never make a success at anything. Einstein began learning to play the violin at the age of 6 because his mother wanted him to. He later became a gifted amateur violinist, maintaining this skill throughout his life. You see, when he was going to the school, the headmaster told once to his father that what he wants to become doesn't matter because he will never have any success. He will not have any success at anything. Can you imagine one headmaster, a principal is telling to your parents, to your father especially, what he is going to become doesn't matter because he will not be a successful in anything, in any profession. What a disappointment. But then you see, Einstein began learning to play violin at the age of 6, not because he wanted, but because his mother wanted him to play. And later on, he became a gifted amateur. Amateur means doing something for personal enjoyment rather than as a profession. Not as a profession, but just personal enjoyment. Amateur violinist. For his free time, he would play. It was a gift. That means automatically he would be able to play. Maintaining the skill throughout his life. Was a very skillful person. Okay, for throughout the life he played this violin. Not as a profession, but for personal enjoyment. Number 4. But Albert Einstein was not a bad pupil. He went to high school in Munich, where Einstein's family had moved when he was 15 months old, and scored good marks in almost every subject. Einstein hated the school's regimentation and often clashed with his teachers. At the age of 15, Einstein felt so stifled there that he left the school for good. You see what has happened. He was born in Ulm, city of Ulm, but when he was 15 months old, his family moved to Munich and he was sent there as a student. He was not a bad pupil, not a bad student. He went to the school, but then, and he was a clever, you see, he scored good marks in every subject. But he hated the school's regimentation. He did not hate school, remember. But then he hated the school regimentation. Regimentation means the strict discipline, extreme discipline, and often clashed with the teachers. He used to question the teachers, especially history and geography. It is not here, but then his life, his biography, we read that he hated especially history and geography. He's telling, why do we need to know the date and the place and all that? We should know the why of it. Okay, this is what he would question the teachers, and often he had clashed with them. At the age of 15, Einstein felt so stifled there, so stifled, so suffocated, breathless, can't even breathe, that much strictness in that school in Munich, that he left the school for good. For good means forever. He left the school. He didn't want to continue because everywhere rules, always discipline. And so he did not like, he left the school. Paragraph number 5. The previous year, Albert's parents had moved to Milan and left their son with relatives. After prolonged discussion, Einstein got his wish to continue his education in German-speaking Switzerland, in a city which was more liberal than Munich. So imagine his parents now, they moved to Milan. You see how many places they are moving. He was born in Ulm, they went to Munich, then the parents went to Milan, but then left their son with the relatives. And with the prolonged discussion, long discussion, Einstein, he had his wish to continue his education in different school in Switzerland because he believed, or it was true, that this Munich, it was this German speaking school at Switzerland was more liberal than Munich, more freedom, because in Munich he was getting suffocated. 6th, Einstein was highly gifted in mathematics and interested in physics, and after finishing school he decided to study at a university in Zurich. But science wasn't the only thing that appealed to the dashing young man with the walrus mustache. You see here the picture. Einstein in 1900 at the age of 21, how young he was, and at 1955 as we remember him now. Okay. So here 6th paragraph, you see he was highly gifted in mathematics and interested in physics. These two subjects, which is supposed to be nowadays students find very, very difficult. And then after the schooling, he had to study at university in Zurich, but it was not only science was interesting, something else also. And he's the one who is writing his biography is telling it was not only science was appealed. Appeal means it was not only he was not only comfortable or he was happy with these subjects, but something else also, to this walrus mustache. Walrus mustache means this bushy mustache, long mustache. It's called walrus mustache. What he was interested then, beside this, science and mathematics, for physics and mathematics. 7th paragraph. He also felt a special interest in a fellow student, Mileva Marik, whom he found to be a clever creature. This young serf had come to Switzerland because the university in Zurich was one of the few in Europe where women could get degree. Einstein saw in her an ally against the Philistines, those people in his family and at the university with whom he was constantly at odds. The couple fell in love. Letters survive in which they put their affection into words, mixing science with tenderness. Wrote Einstein, "How happy and proud I shall be when we both have brought our work on relativity to a victorious conclusion." You see here, the sixth paragraph says he was not only interested in physics and mathematics, but something else. What is it? He had special interest in a fellow student, that is Mileva Merrick. He was interested in her because not simply he was attracted towards her for her beauty, but then he found to be a clever creature. She was very clever, and she had come from Switzerland to Zurich, where Einstein was studying. Young Serb means actually from Serbia, that is in southeastern Europe. He had come, this young girl, and why he was attracted towards her? Because he saw in her an ally against Philistines. Ally is a friend or an associate, a friend against Philistines. Philistines, like, just a contradictory. Okay, a word used disapprovingly to talk about people who do not like art, literature, or music. See, this young girl Mileva they were matching. That means their ideas were going together. Whereas Philistines, his family members, and at the university, he did not find, that means his opinions, his thinking was completely opposite with his family members and the staff member or other people at the university. But then with Mileva it matched. This much you remember. Now slowly this couple, both of them fell in love. How do we know that? From the letter. Letter survive in which they put their words, affection into words. Those days writing letters, no phone calls. Mixing science with tenderness. Science is only highly thinking, you see, and tenderness, the very tender hearted, very affection. And science, wrote Einstein, "How happy and proud I shall be when we both have brought our work on relativity to a victorious conclusion." I shall be very happy and proud that our science, our work on relativity to a victorious conclusion means we should succeed in science, relativity, he was famous, as well as we will marry together. That's all, in short. Eighth paragraph. In 1900, at the age of 21, Albert Einstein was a university graduate and unemployed, remember. He worked as a teaching assistant, gave private lessons, and family secured a job in 1902 and gave private lessons and finally secured a job in 1902 as a technical expert in the patent office in Bern. While he was supposed to be assessing other people's inventions, Einstein was actually developing his own ideas in secret. He is said to have jokingly called his desk drawer at work the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. You see, at the age of 21, he was now finally graduate student, but then unemployed, no job. So what he did, he worked as a teaching assistant, a teacher, also gave private lessons, means private tuitions, and finally in 1902 he got a job as a technical expert in the patent office in Bern in Switzerland. Patent office means a document which gives the rights of an invention to an inventor. That means nobody else can invent that particular invention, particular thing, a particular item. Okay, that's a patent office. So when he was assessing other people's invention, he was going through assessment, going through other people's inventions. Actually, what he was doing, he was developing his own ideas in secret. He was a genius, but till now his genius is not yet realized. Remember, 21 years old. Because we are thinking now, people are born genius, not born genius, they are made. You see? So, while he was going through others' invention, naturally he was developing his own ideas in secret. And he says jokingly, that his desk drawer at work, the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. That means he was working, he was going to the office, he was working, and there, that desk, that table and chair that he was having, there is the theory of physics he developed there. Okay. Ninth, one of the famous papers of 1905 was Einstein's special theory of relativity, according to which time and distance are not absolute. Indeed, two perfectly accurate clocks will not continue to show the same time if they come together again after a journey, if one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other. From this followed the world's most famous formula, which describes the relationship between mass and energy. E equal to mc square. In this mathematical equation, E stands for energy, m for mass, and c for the speed of the light in a vacuum, about 3 lakhs kilometer per second. This is what his discovery is, you see. Absolute means the measured in itself, not in relation to anything else. Absolute it by itself, not to measure with anything. He's one of the famous papers of 1905. He had a special theory of this relativity, in which he said that time and distance is not absolute, cannot measured with anything. Okay, because both of them, time and the distance, they are not absolute. Two perfectly accurate clocks, two clocks will not continue to show the same time if they come together again after a journey. See, and if one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other, naturally you are comparing, two clocks, come back and you see one will be moving fast, that means it is relative to the other, you are comparing with the other. From this followed the world's most famous formula. We describe the relationship between mass and energy, E equal to mc square. Okay, you see in the little saying of Albert Einstein, when you sit with a nice girl for 2 hours, it seemed like 2 minutes. Very fast time passes, But when you sit on a hot stove for 2 minutes, it seemed like 2 hours. That's relativity, according to Einstein. For today, it is enough. Read this 9 paragraph, try to understand, and read again if you don't understand. Okay, and learn the meanings as well. We will continue tomorrow. See you, students.